Chris. A very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to the Hewlett Packard Enterprise session. My name is Doreen and I run the SMB and mid-market business for HP in Singapore. Welcome to our session. So for today, we would like to share with you and work with you to reimagine the future from a software-defined to AI-driven future. And today we can talk through a couple of innovative solutions, and then we'll move on to our fireside chat. And throughout this presentation, you'll see on the slides a small icon, which is actually a QR code. So at any point in time, if you have any thoughts, any feedback, or you are interested to find out more about the content, about the solutions, feel free to scan the QR code at any point in time. Okay, so I will talk through our innovative solutions for about 20 minutes, and then I'll move on to a fireside chat session where I have two very special guests with me today. So we will exchange notes on how the two of them are seeing the market shifting, the new technologies that's out in the market, and how many customers like ourselves have benefited with some of the latest solutions out in the market, as well as from the Packard Enterprise. And then we're going to move on to our next topic, which is going to be led by Mr. Greg Chong, our regional partner manager from a financial services team, who will share with you some technology investment strategies from HPE, and then Q&A, and then we'll move on with the pop quiz and wrap up. Okay, next slide. So we've been moving through the pandemic situation for a couple of months now, so I hope that everyone is staying safe and keeping well. So throughout the last couple of months, we've interacted with many customers, and this, I would say, are really the top concerns from the SMBs out in the market. Firstly, is the business survival in the short term. So how do I stay afloat, improve my cost efficiency, and have to deal with supply chain constraints, demand shock. And I'm sure many of your employees continue to work at home, remotely, or you have some sort of team A, team B type of arrangement. So how do you ensure that your organization continue to be productive and your employees stay safe? And not forgetting, as business owners, you're also thinking about where should I next tap into in terms of new opportunities in the market? How should I prioritize my investments while managing costs and conserving cash? And also at the same time, how can I improve my interactions with my customers? Because now in the COVID situation, customers have changing expectations, right? If you look at how many of us, just consumers are consuming products and services, very much, many of us have moved into the online platform. So as a company, how can I ensure that I have a continuous touch point with the customers and enhance my interactions with them? And last but not least is data vulnerability and ransomware risk, which is really real today. If you look at some of the reports out in the market, one by Carbon Black, during this period of time, the COVID-19 related cybersecurity attacks have spiked by 148% compared to the same time last year. Because again, many of us working remotely, we're using different tools for collaboration, and that exposes many organizations in the big and small to a lot of this cybersecurity risks. So these are really the 5 top concerns that we are seeing through our months of interactions with SMBs customers. And next slide. So today's reality. So gone are the days IT is a cost enabler, right? It's gone are the days IT is a cost center. It's now an enabler for business outcomes, right? But the truth is IT, your IT team or your IT person is constantly dealing with the complexity of infrastructure that's slowing down your time to market. Time to market in terms of rolling out new applications, services and products to your customers, because a lot of time of your IT is spent working on dealing with issues related to the IT infrastructure. And if you look at some of the research out there in the market, for example, TechOwl is one of the more popular SMB research companies in the world. They talk about SMBs in general has about 1 out of 20 IT staff versus enterprise, versus any enterprise company. So in terms of resources, IT resources definitely much lesser for SMB. And interestingly, about 79% of the time of your IT person or IT team is spent on just doing support, IT support, maintenance, break fix, versus time spent on innovations, and aligning your IT goals to that of business outcomes. So the lack of skill set is also one of the obvious challenge that SMB customers face today in terms of rolling out new applications, because they are really stuck bogged down with a lot of issues related to the infrastructure, because infrastructure today can be very complex with many of these companies, right? And what happens at the end of the day, whenever there's an issue, there's a lot of firefighting as well, because it's challenging for many companies without the right technologies and skill set to be able to pinpoint issues quickly and resolve them fast. And obviously you have pressure to lower costs, as it is, today, commodity costs have gone up quite a fair bit because of the current global situation. And of course, to increase the productivity, because again, a lot of employees are working from home, how to make sure that they continue to stay productivity and stay safe, right? So with that, this is what we're seeing from a HP perspective. I'm really keen to hear what you as our audience here today thought about your challenges. So with that, I'd like to ask Chris if we can bring up poll number 1 for our audience, please.
Sure, just give us a moment. Okay, hi audience, the poll number 1 is up. So it'll be good if you can actually help us to just answer the poll. We'll over the next 30 seconds, we'll be actually using the poll to actually have some discussion later on at the fire chat. Okay, I think we're good. Doreen, shall we proceed?
Yes, please. Thanks, Chris. And thanks to our dear audience, for your participation. Let's move on. We're moving on to the next slide. Okay, so we heard about the challenges, the issues, from our companies in Singapore today. So what if you have technology that will give you more time to innovate versus fighting fire and then doing break fix, repairing parts, etc. You have more time to really innovate so they can push out innovative solutions, products, and services to your customers a lot quicker, because the world really belongs to the fast. And also you have much better ROI payback, 192% payback within a year. And you also get cost savings up to 69%. And in terms of data recovery, 1 TV virtual machine recover in 60 seconds. And obviously, we have a infrastructure solutions that's really simple, really intelligent, so that you can be very productive and channel more time just to provide new services and be able to innovate quickly and be fast in the market. And we'll move to the next slide. So this is what the ideal situation would be, right, if you have such kind of technologies. Now, the key is, if you look at what's happening today, a lot of our customers in many industries, wherever you are looking at hyper-converged infrastructure solutions, or HCI in short, as a next-gen architecture for many types of workloads, including virtualization type of workload, where everything is built in, efficient, and simple. So if you look at the evolution of HCI, right, hyper-converged, traditionally many years ago, you imagine your data center is actually looking like this, right? Or in fact, some of us, our customers' data centers still look like this. You basically have many silo components, the whole stack, right? Different components, and it's a lot of time, a lot of resources to be spent maintaining this infrastructure. If you look at the evolution of hyper-converged, basically it's collapsing some of these silo components, basically the storage and compute, into one. So you see basically a smaller stack that's more efficient. But the question is that enough? Is that good enough? So from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise perspective, it's beyond that, right? So we're looking at not just collapsing silos, right, but really putting a software-defined approach to a hyper-converged infrastructure solution. And moving from that, today, we have also introduced AI to our hyper-converged infrastructure solutions. Now, AI is no longer just a prerogative, for enterprise customers. Many of us think of AI, it's really for enterprise, and it costs a lot, so it's very complex. But truth is, HPE is able to bring AI for SMB customers, so that you can enjoy the benefits of AI, which makes your data center autonomous. So I'll explain that in just a bit. So HPE infrastructure, when it comes to hyper-converged solution, is really a true AI-driven, very simple and intelligent solutions for SMB. And it comes with density, resiliencies in terms of backup and disaster recovery, and an always-on performance, right? Because the business is always running. Reliability, performance is very important for your business. So on to that thought, we'll move to the next slide. So this is what the evolution has been. So how did this vision for HPE come about? For what we have done over the last couple of years is we have transitioned from a hardware confined infra. You might remember the earlier slide where I talk about, apologies, we are at the previous slide on this one. Apologies for the technical issue. Okay, apologies guys. I think in my system is slow. We're taking a little bit of time to load the slide. Okay, this is the right one. Okay, so this is our infrastructure solution that's true AI driven. And just one slide after this. Okay, so these are kind of the key tenets, right, to how we think about hyper-converged solutions, right? It has to be very simple to deploy for our customers. You look at whole stack, we have collapsed it into one, okay, so it's all in one system. So the whole idea is to make it very simple to deploy. So it's easy for you to get your entire solution up and running. And it's also very easy to manage. So you don't have to work with different components, right? I was showing earlier the whole stack is so complex. And so we make it very simple for you to manage, to make your day-to-day operations easy. And it's also easy to scale, right? If you just want to add additional capacity, you know, it's very simple and it's very quick. The question is, again, is this enough? For Hewlett Packard Enterprise, we are beyond all that, right? Making the fundamental right, but we have revolutionary features that we want to bring to you. So we encourage you to work with us. Let's rethink what HCI should do for our customers. With that, also, again, I'd like to hear from you. Chris, if I may, will request for you to bring up poll number 2.
Sure, just give us a moment. Yep. So, dear audience, we have actually got one question poll over here. What are your 2 priorities now at the moment in terms of your looking at IT for your business? Yep. So we have another 20 seconds just for everybody just to have a quick poll on this question. Thank you. Ten more seconds. Okay, I think we're good, Doreen.
Thanks, Chris. So if you think about your priorities, you would think about, you know, what your infrastructure needs to do for you. Now, beyond simple to deploy, beyond simple to manage, beyond simple to scale, obviously you need a lot more else. And that's where our technology can bring to you. So if you look at what we have done in HPE, how we are bringing artificial intelligence to SMB, the technology started off being hardware confined, right? Where it's complex, everything is manual, very reactive, and wasteful resources. So we have brought software-defined approach to infrastructure to make it automated and also on demand and make it efficient, right? So you basically use software that's embedded in the solution to help you to tune up resources when you need and tune down resources when you don't. That's why it's on demand, right? Using software to control your hardware so that it's a lot more automated. So that's where a software-defined approach would make sense. But still, that's reactive, right? So for us, being a forefront of the hyper-converged technology, what we're bringing to customers today is AI-driven on top of software-defined. So I used to have a software to control infrastructure, but what we add on to that is AI approach, where your equipment, your technology will be autonomous. That means it's self-healing. So based on our AI engine, what we can do with the infrastructure is to alert you to potential issues that you will face even before you know it. So think about the concept of self-driving cars right on the road. So before it hits the curb, it can automatically steer off the curb, right, going in a different direction to make sure that the car continues to stay on course. So just like our HP hyper-converged infrastructure solutions, it's going to be autonomous for our customers. So if there is an issue that we think you're going to face, for example, maybe a parts issue, it could be a application issue, right? That's where we pinpoint the issue to you and let you know that you're gonna face this issue and what you should do. So there is a portion of what we call recommendations, a recommendation engine to also inform you how you can tune your resources so that it's optimized to drive certain workloads. So this is the part where predictive analytics come in, right? Because we can tell you that in the next couple of days, potentially your infrastructure will create a problem. So we give you recommendations on how to fix it or how to tune the resources to make it efficient. So that's what AI-driven means. So are we new in the game? Right, next slide. We are not. We have been in this technology looking into our AI-driven capabilities for many years now. In fact, we are 10 years in the making. So the question now is, what's the secret sauce? Okay. So you heard so much, I talk about, our AI-driven approach is like a self-driving car, but we apply it to a very, we apply it in a very simple, intelligent way for your infrastructure. So we have taken these AI innovations forward, for SME customers over the last almost a decade, right? So how we've done it is through our software called HPE INFOSIGHT. So with HPE INFOSIGHT, we started off, getting introduced it to the market by Nimble in 2011. So over 10 years in the making, what we have done is that we have gathered over 1,250 trillion of data points from existing environments, right? Because we have a huge install base customers across the globe, right? So our equipment comes with embedded sensors that actually picked up telemetry data, right? Not personable identifiable data, right? Nothing about the person who is using it, but really about the performance of the equipment. So with INFOSIGHT, we're able to pull all this data together, right? And what benefits does it then create for you today, right? We're thinking about your next hyper-converged infrastructure solution. So with the data points that we collect and then we analyze using HPE INFOSIGHT, we can then find patterns, right? And then to tell our customer that, hey, another customer was sitting in Europe, for example, is running this same workload, this same software version, right? He has run into an issue. And you are also running the same workload, same software version. So you are going to face the same issue. So this predictive analytics then come in to you in a form of an alert through our AI-driven infrastructure solution. So that is enabled with HPE INFOSIGHT, and this is really unique to HPE. So this is how we come about when we say HPE INFOSIGHT or HPE hyper-converged solution driven by INFOSIGHT is an intelligent AI-driven cloud-based solution. And if you look at this history that we have helped save almost 1.58 million hours for our customers through lost productivity because of the predictive analytics that we have given to customers. So you know the issues, we tell you the issues before you know it, and we can help you alert the issues to a support team without you having to do so, right? So you save a lot in terms of time and you gain a lot of productivity. So moving on to the next slide. So be more specific, right, about what INFOSIGHT can overcome. So this is what it looks like. So for INFOSIGHT, we can monitor across the stack. We call it cross-stack analysis because it's not just about hardware, right? It's also about the software piece. Remember, our solutions are software-driven, software-defined, but at the same time, we put in this AI mechanics so that you can see across the whole stack of storage, networking, compute, and software. For those that are familiar, whether it's VMware, Oracle, SQL, we can look at all these things and analyze the INFOSIGHT and be able to tell you holistically across your whole stack what really is the issue. If you feel that your system, most of the time, right, we hear customers saying, hey, my system is starting to slow down. Seems like a problem there. And to pinpoint that problem, we can do it very quickly with INFOSIGHT. And in the fireside chat later on, just right after this session, you will hear more real life examples, from our experts as well as from our partner about how customers are really solving their issues with this HPE INFOSIGHT because they can pinpoint what the performance issue is very quickly and resolve it very swiftly. And we can pinpoint noisy neighbor VMs. So what noisy neighbor means, right? So VMs, you can think of applications, right? Again, the system slowing down. So what exactly is the issue? It may be someone, and we encountered that, right? In INFOSIGHT, we found out that it's actually some applications, there was a team that was doing some batch job, right? At certain point in time, like at 12 o'clock, every week, every Friday and 12 p.m., that team is running that update, and that's slowing down the entire system. So with INFOSIGHT, we can pinpoint that quickly and tell you what the issue is so that you can resolve it internally and so that your IT becomes a lot more productive. And also we can optimize the workload by giving you recommendations. How do you tune more processing power, or you tune up your storage capacity so that you can actually run your workload a lot faster and be more efficient. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. So having heard about our HP INFOSIGHT, right? Now it's time for you to learn a little bit more about our intelligent HCI portfolio, right? That has INFOSIGHT embedded. HPE SimpliVity, this is really our simplest HCI solution for edge, for robo, and general purpose workload, right? What does edge mean, right? Edge, simply, if you think of environments as outside your data center. For example, if you're a manufacturing company, so outside the data center could mean at your plant, your digital labs, for example, your warehouse, right? Those are all edge environments. If you're a supermarket, your edge environments could be in the branch store itself, right? It's also ideal for remote office, branch offices, and for general purpose workload. And why is that the case? If you look at SimpliVity, it's all in one. We have a lot of density, resiliency, high performance, all packed in a very small footprint. And with INFOSIGHT, the beauty of which is you really don't need very technical people to be able to run the equipment. And moreover, with INFOSIGHT, everything is intuitive, is autonomous, right? Because we tell you exactly what the problem is even before you know about it, right? So you don't need very technical skill set. You don't need an admin, a VM admin, or sitting at a branch office, for example. So that's where SimpliVity brings simple, compact intelligence is really a good fit, right? In that kind of edge environment. It's intelligent, efficient, optimized, and cloud connected. And the next solution we also have, which I would think it's very suitable for SMB customers, is our HP Nimble Storage DHCI. It's a disaggregated HCI. It sounds like really a mouthful. So you see the spec, it's basically we compute on top, right? Your server on top, and a Nimble storage below. So physically, you still see two parts there, right? Of course, it's a lot more simplified right now. So, but you can see in terms of physically, it's made up of two parts. But for these two products, conceptually, you get the same HCI experience because they're powered by HP INFOSIGHT. So the experience is the same, and the software is built into VMware layer. So if you are already using VMware, for example, today, you're very familiar with it, you have no issue running any of these two products, and trust me, you will really enjoy it. Okay, what's more with the AI engine that makes it very simple and very easy and intelligent to run. So for these two products, same HCI experience you get from HPE. The only difference is in terms of scalability. For Nimble Storage DHCI, you can scale independently, right? That means maybe you're a company, you think that you have unpredictable growth. So in the next couple of months, you're going to run, let's say, a mooncake festival promotion, for example, and you're going to get some spike, in terms of capacity. That's where you can choose to just upgrade your storage, and then you keep your compute intact, right? So you have the flexibility to scale in whatever direction you need. So that's why the flexibility comes in. It's the way that scale, right, that's different across SimpliVity versus DHCI, right? So this is how the two solutions differ, but they're the same, powered by INFOSIGHT, which gives you the same unique, intelligent experience. Right? Let's say, moving on to the next slide. So knowing the features, now next thing is what's the outcome can I achieve with the solution? What exactly is the outcome, right? So we heard all about, the benefits, and what HP has done. We have commissioned Forrester to perform a total economic impact survey report. So we're not just, kind of put together our value proposition on our own, but we get a third-party view to validate, what our solutions can do for customers. So the survey reviews how HP SimpliVity customers can reduce costs and TCO by 69%, while delivering 192% return on investment within a 7-month payback, right? So you can go to this Forrester report, which will give you all the details about the survey conducted by the Forrester to our HP SimpliVity customers. And these are the proof points that were brought up through the survey, right? So you get a lot more compact footprint, Apart from being compact, you get all the intelligent features. At the same time, that translates to a lot of cost savings, ROIs, and as well as productivity. So let's look at what it really means, right, for my customers. This is our HPE SimpliVity Hyper Guarantee. Moving on to the next slide. So our Hyper Guarantees is basically what we can do for our customers. And this is, take my word for that, it's not a gimmick. It's really what our capabilities are when it comes to our SimpliVity, and is backed by actual guarantee for all customers and is built into the warranty, right? It's built into the warranty. So this is how our SimpliVity delivers the enterprise class performance, protection, resiliencies that many customers require with the cloud economics that your business needs. And these are really all the proof points of our platform maturity. We've been in the market for a long time right now, and what our capabilities can do for our customers. And we offer one of the industry most complete guarantees, right? Let's take a look at these hyper guarantees. Number one, hyper efficient. You save 90% capacity across storage and backup combined. What does that mean? If you use SimpliVity and our integrated backup, you get 90% capacity savings. So if you need to run something that's 10 terabyte, effectively you only need 1 terabyte on our SimpliVity solution. And also hyper protected. So you can complete a local backup and local restore of 1 TB virtual machine under 1 minute. For those who are familiar with backup solutions, because I'm sure many of you have your own sort of a backup solution, and traditional backup software, if you want to do a backup of, let's say, 1 TB, that would easily take you a couple of hours. Okay, so for SimpliVity, we can do it under 1 minute or less than 60 seconds. So that's our hyper protected guarantee for our customers. And it's also hyper simple, 3 clicks to backup, restore, move, and clone any VMs from a simple console. So it's really simple to use, and everything is built into the VMware layer. Again, these are actual guarantees and built into a warranty for our customers. So let's hear from some customers. Moving on next. This is Patchwork, one of our key latest, in fact, real life example that's available on the website. It talks about how Patchwork has, in response to COVID-19 issues, had to roll out VDI solutions quickly. In fact, overnight, it was done with HPE. So with COVID situation, I know a lot of the customers are already using some form of remote workplace solutions or are thinking of rolling out one soon. So this is a customer that needed 380 VDI user type solutions. Okay, they want to make a remote working capabilities enabled for sales reps across Australia. So they have about more than 400 sales reps in country. So what HPE has done overnight, we helped them to roll out these additional VDI solutions to enable them to cope with the COVID-19 situation. And why we're able to do that very quickly is because for HPE, a solution in this case was Nimble DHCI. It was really simple to deploy, very simple to use. You can get the solution up and running very quickly with minimum disruption to your business. So that's one key example. And in this COVID situation, we have heard a lot from customers about their concerns around cybersecurity attacks. If you look into the next slide, these are some of the articles, from KPMG, from Carbon Black, that talks about during this period of time, there's a rise of ransomware, right? From Carbon Black, you see 148% spike in ransomware attacks. The whole idea is that the employees are working remotely. There could be a chance of impersonation, people hacking into your network, and definitely more endpoints, right? Your employees are using lots of different equipment, whether it's iPad, laptop, you name it, you got it, right? So the exposure to cybersecurity attack goes up significantly during this period of time. And it can cost your company huge, right? Huge in terms of losses and company reputation. Next, we look at the profile of a customer, right? And in fact, given that the ransomware attack is so rampant, a lot of customers obviously will not want their names, to be communicated or reflected, publicly, right? And this is one of the companies that we have worked with who have agreed, to be our reference on how, SimpliVity has helped them to overcome this cybersecurity threat, right? It was a very severe threat and a real live story. Okay, so this is with a Central One Credit Union, okay, in the US. So this was a ransomware attack, that happened on one fine day. And honestly, it could happen to anyone at any point in time. Again, this is a real story. So what happened was that at 3:30 p.m. on that day, they start to see that the processing of large files starts to slow down. In some sense, it's quite common, right? But the employee couldn't realize that it has impacted their workflow, and there was issue in terms of efficiency. And then at 6 p.m., there was an attempt to copy a folder from another branch location, right? They have multiple branches, right? Credit union. And what they found out that the connection took really long. You're talking about 1.5 Mbps. It took 2 hours to process. So something is amiss. So at 8 p.m., okay, what they receive, as you see on the screen, is this notice for ransomware demand, right? So they're holding company at ransom and asking for Bitcoin. Again, this is a real live situation, real live case, right? So the file was still not able to process, and they were asked to pay this ransom in order for the business to go back to normal operations. And what the team found out is that the root cause is that it is a CRYPTOLOCKER infection, okay, which is example of a ransomware. So moving on to the next slide, this was how they have recovered with HPE SimpliVity. So what the team did was they found a recovery point that's prior to the infection. So they selected that point. And the key thing to note here is with SimpliVity, right, which is a solution that's really made for SMB, we're able to restore 500 gig of virtual machine within seconds. That's how fast it is, versus any traditional other type of solutions, it would have taken a lot longer. So we're able to do that, go back to a recovery point, and to do the restoration within seconds. Database was operational within minutes, and everything was back as it was before. By 8:30, the whole team left the office. There was no data loss, and there was no ransom paid. So, it was an issue that was really severe, that the company truly panicked because it impacted their operations. If the operations cannot afford to slow down or to stop. So that's where SimpliVity came in to help them to resolve the issue with zero data loss and zero ransom paid. And was just a couple of pizzas, for the employees because they had to stay late, to look into the issue. So that was how our solutions, being AI driven and software defined, can help the customers. And with that, again, the amazing real life situation, real life example, I'd like to hear from you as well. Chris, if we may bring up poll number 4, please. Thanks.
Hi audience, we are having our 4th poll here. The question is actually on how would you like to understand more about what HPE can offer for SMB? Yep. So we will actually stop here for about 30 seconds just to take the poll questions. Doreen, shall we proceed further?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks to our audience here. Now we have heard about the technology. Let's discuss, how can I consume our IT technology solutions? I'm an SMB customers, and I probably have not just limited skill set in some cases in my IT team, but also from a budget standpoint. So that's where I'm happy to share with you this HPE innovative financing solution that we have rolled out during this COVID-19 period to help our customers with COVID-19 related challenges. So there are a couple of schemes here that gives you a broad overview. And I'm sure our financial services expert, Mr. Greg, he will come on board, share with us more details. But in a nutshell, if you look at for 2020 payment relief programs, it allows you to start very small in terms of your payment, and then and pay more in the later stage of the program. So what it means is that from some customers, if you're looking at a new opportunity of growth, you're rolling out a new business model, so you need to test it out. So the first few months, you don't expect the demand to be there. So for the first few months, in terms of IT consumption, you can start with paying little, and then you pay more as your business starts to scale. So that's in the same note as matching your payment to use. And what about existing equipment? You still want to use the existing equipment that's sitting somewhere, but what we can offer you is incremental cash from your existing equipment while still allowing you to use them, right? So you're generating cash from assets. And over the last 2 years, we have infused over $642 million into our customers' budgets, just by generating cash, giving them cash infusions from the existing assets. And so on and so forth. Of course, a lot of our solutions have very sharp and concise proof points, that that have allowed us to work with some government agencies on how these solutions can help our SME customers be productive. So many of our solutions is what you can look at to also leverage our government grants, to purchase these IT infrastructure solutions. Next, we look at some promotions. I talk a lot about SimpliVity. This is just for our SCCI team community here. And you see for these two promotions on SimpliVity, it's the same solution, but in terms of the configurations, it's slightly different, but both are tuned for SMB. So without going too much into details, you will see the payment scheme here. We structure it in a very innovative way. If you look at a standard SMB list, this is per month what you pay, 874. But if you want to consider our 2020 payment relief program, I talk about how you can start low, like first 8 months at $299, and then from 9 months onwards, you start to pay more. So that helps you to mitigate your financial risk, your business risk in the early period of time when you're rolling out new services. Okay, and that's the same concept for the other SimpliVity 380. And there's also the other mechanism, which is 90-day deferral. So you pay 90 days, you pay first 3 months $0, and then you pay 90 days later. So that's also possible as well. So there are many schemes that we have introduced, innovative schemes that are unique to HPE for SMB customers to leverage during this period of time, because we know you not just need the right solutions, but you also need a consumption model, a way to consume IT that's efficient, that addresses your needs. So I'll leave it to Greg to share more details about the financing solution. Moving next, I would also want to highlight that for some customers who are not keen to own your own equipment, or you don't have a space to house the equipment because you need not necessarily have a data center, right? And all you want to do is just pay a subscription fee like you do for a mobile phone. Every month you pay X dollars and you get the resources, technology resources, plus the services all in one, right? So for these, we have in our ecosystem working with many service providers, partners who can provide fully managed hosting. So you pay a single sum on a subscription basis, on a per month basis. Like the equipment is housed in a tier 3 data center, you get security, you get some services, you get an SLA as part of the contract. So you speak with us, we can help you evaluate what best meets your needs in terms of the technology and as well as financing. With that, I welcome you to connect with us. This is our complimentary consultancy assessment offer that's available to all our members and you guys in the audience dialing in today. Please feel free to connect me at doreen.go@hpe.com. And we can have a conversation to really understand more about your needs and how we can provide a solution that's tailored to your requirements from both a technology standpoint and a financing standpoint. Okay, with that, we can move into our next session. Okay, so I've talked for a while about our innovative solution that's software-defined and AI-driven, that's unique for HPE. And I'm now very excited to bring on live chat, with me, Mr. Chang, our solution architect from HPE Singapore, who has been working with many customers here in Singapore and implementing the right hyper-converged solution for them that addresses their needs, powered by INFOSIGHT. And I also have Mr. Macmillan, Associate Director from Trillium Technologies, who will be the second guest speaker that I will bring on board right after Chang. He'll share with us his expertise as well as his experiences in working with customers here in Singapore. And they are going to share very exciting real life examples. I'm looking forward to have this conversation with us. So Chang, welcome to our session.
Thanks, Doreen.
Okay, so Chang, can you tell us a little bit more? If you talk about HCI, so earlier I mentioned about how our HPE SimpliVity as well as the HPE DHCI with INFOSIGHT can help customers achieve a autonomous data center, autonomous infrastructure. There are a lot of products out in the market that seemingly point to this vision. So can you share a bit more how HPE INFOSIGHT is different?
Okay, thanks, Doreen. So autonomous infrastructure and using analytics and machine learning to improve infrastructure is nothing new, right? I mean, in the past, there are a lot of solutions out there that are basically on-prem solutions that customers can install in their data center. So these on-prem solutions will then collect statistics from the customer's environment, and then they'll use some modeling tools and then create some data that the customer can see on the dashboard. But such solutions are typically quite limited in nature, right, due to a very important fact. So when we look at using AI and machine learning, right, what is the most important ingredient we need? Well, it's actually the data. Right? As we all know, right, the more data you have, the better you can train your algorithm, right? It's all about machine learning, right? They need to learn, and with that, you need more data, right? And when we look at the industry right now, right, Tesla would be the best example, you know, the autonomous vehicle vendor, right? So why is Tesla considered, right, to have the best autonomous vehicle in the industry? So the reason is they have the largest data sets since they have been collecting data the earliest, and they have also the largest vehicle fleet out there. So on a day-to-day basis, right, the amount of data that they are actually generating and crunching, right, is going to be a lot more bigger compared to the other vendors that are trying to improve their autopilot, you know, on their vehicles. And when we look back at INFOSIGHT, right, we were actually the pioneers back then in 2010, where we collected about tens of millions of data points, right, to currently right now where we collect about 1.25 quadrillion data points, right? So if there is a bit of a mouthful, so 1 quadrillion, right, is actually 1,000 trillion. So imagine that the amount of data that we are collecting for INFOSIGHT.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that's also made possible given the fact that HPE has one of the largest customer install base in the world, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then we couple with INFOSIGHT that brings in the analytics feature to convert that into insights for our customers. Okay, that's interesting. Can you give us some ideas how INFOSIGHT can be leveraged by your customers?
Right. So in truth, INFOSIGHT is really a complicated platform, right, to manage and maintain. Think about the petabytes of storage, right? We actually have like huge data centers, right, that's hosted within HPE, environments, right, where we have all these data scientists and really a lot of smart people, right, working on the INFOSIGHT platform, right? So to our customers, right, this is all transparent, right? You don't really need to know anything about machine learning, analytics to really use INFOSIGHT. To get INFOSIGHT experience, right? I mean, customers just need to create a HPE account to log into our SaaS portal. Then they just do a few clicks on the user administrator panel of their infrastructure. Then that's where they start to send telemetry data to INFOSIGHT, right? Data regarding the CPU utilization, the memory, the storage utilization, right? It's that simple. So once the telemetry data are sent, the customers will then be able to see, right, within the INFOSIGHT portal all their HPE assets, right, and then get access to functionality like our predictive dashboard, our AI recommendation engine, and then the cross-stack analysis tools.
Well, that's a lot of goodness. You just talk about a whole bunch of features, capabilities that is going to be beneficial for a lot of customers with InfoSight. Is there a cost to it?
That is a very good question, and one very common questions when we talk to our customers about InfoSight, right? It's like, it's such a brilliant tool, right? And the best part is that there's actually zero additional cost, right? When it comes to using InfoSight. When InfoSight comes with the platform, so when the customer buys the HPE appliance for, let's say, SimpliviTY HCI nodes, right? They don't pay anything extra to get the benefit of InfoSight, right? They don't install anything on-prem within their environment. They don't need to maintain any special hardware and software just to keep InfoSight ready. Because end of the day, like I mentioned previously, right? HPE is the one that manages the entire InfoSight platform. So any new enhancements that come along InfoSight, which I've seen across these 10 years, right, where InfoSight has really evolved, right? So all these new feature sets will also be enjoyed by our customers without any extra cost.
Wow, that's fantastic. The question now is, how does it meet the needs of customers, okay, and also at the same time help them address their challenges? And what are these challenges? I talked about that earlier in my presentation. We have possibly already heard from our audience here. Chris, is it possible for us to look at the poll 1 results in terms of what our audience is saying about their top challenges and how are they making their decisions today around IT?
Sure. Give me a while. I'll share the poll 1 results.
Thank you.
Okay, it's shared already. Everybody should be able to see it.
Wow, okay. So we look at the first question, selecting the top 2 IT decision making considerations. I think most of customers, 65% about being more productive as well as efficiency. At the same time, interestingly, cost 29%, but the second key factor would be flexibility and ease of use. Wow, so that resonates, I think, because we talk a lot about how HCI solution has to be simple, has to be easy to use, easy to manage, quick to deploy. But end of the day, how it gives you 192% ROI returns, 69% lower cost. It ties back to how it can help customers gain more productive activity as well as efficiency. If we look at question 2 on challenges, I think the biggest one is on budget, 69%. Okay, well, you got to really hear more details from our financial services expert in just a bit. I give you some snippets of our financing solution. I think that should come handy for you guys to consider. But also limited knowledge, access to the right technology to improve process efficiency. And that's where we are, with our HCI solutions. It will be able to help customers, especially in SMB, to think about how we can improve process efficiency, not just from a software approach, but also in this transformation. You need a transformation solution in the post-COVID situation to have AI-driven to looking at your infrastructure. So that is a good and very interesting insights for the audience. So thanks so much, the audience, for being so spontaneous with the responses. And Cham, I will be interested to really hear from you with given these insights, the challenges that our customers, audience here have indicated, right, in terms of how they want to be more productive, more efficient, as well as same time helping them to reduce their costs, get more productivity and better ROI. Can you give me some real life examples of how with InfoSight, your customers have benefited from this technology and the outcome that they have achieved with InfoSight?
Right, thanks, Doreen. So when I look at the post, right, I think it really resonates because I think the key messages that the customers, what they want right now is to talk about how efficient they are, and not really how efficient they are at managing their infrastructure, but rather how efficient they are when it comes to growing their business, right? So end of the day, right, whatever IT infrastructure that our customers have, right, we should make it as simple as possible where they spend the least amount of time trying to meddle around with it. It should just be set up and forget kind of stuff, right? That's really where INFOSIGHT comes in. So one example that I would like to use, right, is actually from a customer that we basically sold a HPE solution about 2 years back. So they are a utility company, right? So they have actually 2 data centers, one in Singapore and then one on Jurong Island. So their line of business is actually very critical, right? Because they are in the utility sector, right? You cannot have things that's going down because the impact will be very big and you might get fined from the authorities, right? So what they are doing then is that they have this thing known as a RPO of 4 hours. So RPO basically stands for recovery point objective, right? So what that means is that if there's any disaster, right, if any of their infrastructure goes down, right, they must ensure that they can actually bring up another set of infrastructure, right, in another site within 4 hours, and they must not lose more than 4 hours of data, right? So which means that they must replicate their data, right? And the replication must finish within every 4 hours, right? So that was actually running fine, right? But an issue actually occurred probably about 6 months down the road after they went live. So one day, INFOSIGHT alerted the customer, to an issue of lagging replication, right? So what that means is that the replication actually started at nighttime, and then it only completed close to about lunchtime the following day. So that is about 12 hours give or take, which is not compliant anymore to the 4 hours that they have promised to their line of business, right? So this is actually a very critical issue, right? Because if there was a real disaster, I mean, things will still run, right? It's not an issue, but it's that when there's a real disaster and then the customer will to lose their primary site, right? And this amount of data, right, this 12 hours worth of data that is lost, right, could cause such a big outage and disruption, right, that the company may even close down, right, because they can no longer afford to operate.
That's a very serious issue and it's very real. So how did your company, your customers leverage INFOSIGHT to resolve that issue?
Yeah, so when the customer first got the INFOSIGHT alert, right, I mean, usually for customers, right, the first time it happened, since everything is running fine, they'll just ignore it, maybe it's just a one-off thing. But it happened the very next day, and that's where he came back to us, right? And when we look at INFOSIGHT, it was pretty clear that there was no issue with his infrastructure and also the WAN link, right, between his Singapore data center and the Jurong data center. So I told the customer that, something must have changed at his application layer, right, to cause a huge amount of data to be replicated. Now, the issue, right, in IT, right, is that every time when something happens, right, especially something bad happens, everyone will deny, I didn't do anything, right? Members of the audience, you probably relate to this. When something happens, right, and the head will come and ask, did anybody change anything, right? There won't be any brave souls out there that will admit, hey, I just did some changes, right? Definitely, everybody will try and remain quiet, and this generally a big issue when you have IT infrastructure. So with that, with INFOSIGHT, right, what we did was that we have this cross-stack analysis where we could actually drill down from the storage layer where the data is being generated, right, all the way to the application layer, right, where to the exact virtual machines, right, they were generating all this data that's causing the replication to lag. So INFOSIGHT was able to pinpoint that particular VM, right, that caused the issue. So we gave the customer, all the screenshots. This particular VM, is the one that's causing the issue. So he was able to get back to his application team, right, and then ask them, what exactly did they do, right? Because now he has all the proof. So what actually happened was that the database owners, right, they actually turned on something known as a full database index. So in a layman context, what that causes is that every time when this full index runs, right, your database data structure is actually changed. So every night when this thing completes and we need to replicate the data across, it's almost like a full database replication. That was the reason that caused it. So once we identified it, they make some tweaks to this process, and then this problem naturally just went away. Now, why is this a favorite example of mine to talk about is that when we really look at this issue, right, it wasn't really anything to do with infrastructure. All the hardware, all his network links were running okay. It was a particular application change that caused an impact, right, to his business continuity process. Now, imagine if the customer now didn't have INFOSIGHT. And when he log a call to the hardware vendor, right, and say, hey, my replication is now slow. Last time I used to complete in 4 hours, now it's 12 hours. Can you help me take a look? The support people will just take a look at his hardware and then say, hey, everything is running fine. There's no issue. And the case will be closed, right? The customer will then be left with this very difficult task of trying to piece all this information, right, from different places together to pinpoint where did this issue actually came from. Now with INFOSIGHT, right, the time needed to actually isolate these issues was greatly reduced, right? We could do it in a matter of minutes, right? It took half an hour to really identify, where this problem was coming from, while the customer was still scratching his head, in the first 2 to 3 days, what actually went wrong.
That's very interesting, and it's a very realistic situation. So I'm glad that it was resolved, and I think end of the day, it's a lot of impact to the customers in terms of their productivity. They could spend a lot of time just identifying the problem, but with INFOSIGHT you can do it so quickly, right? Yes. So you save time, you save resources. Excellent. Yeah. So that's on the challenge piece, right? I'm interested to look at what our customers think in terms of their priorities. Chris, if we may bring up the outcome for poll number 2, if that's possible, please.
Sorry, Doreen, I didn't get your.
Can we? Is it possible for us to look at poll number 2 results?
Sure. Just give me a moment. Yep. Here you go.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. What are your top 2 priorities right now? So multiple choices are possible. So key 69% productivity, process efficiency seems like it's the #1 priority. Okay, I mean, that's fully aligned with what we have heard from many customers, and that's why we think it's important that we share with you guys what our technology can actually offer to help support your priority. At the same time, growing the business, and also followed by cybersecurity threats, and lastly, managing costs. Now, in all these priorities, right, as you go about driving more efficiency, being more productive, and you're constantly thinking of new ways to grow the business in a post-COVID world, I think what's really important that we really want to reinforce and remind our customers, our audience, not just this audience here, but continuously about the cybersecurity threat, because it can happen anytime. You talk about here in Singapore, there are really many cases. And one of them that I guess many people remember is the SingHealth data breach issue, right? Where 1.5 million of data was lost. How do you ensure that you can, your equipment, your technologies, it's able to allow you to do a backup efficiently, and also restoration of data whenever things happen? The disaster recovery component is something that we continuously reinforce to customers that it should not be forgotten, because once a hacking happens, right, whatever you are doing in terms of driving efficiency, being productive, and looking at new ways of growing the business, your reputation will be impacted. It's as serious as that, right? So this is something that we will encourage, everyone, or our clients, our customers, to keep this in mind, because this is something that can immediately disrupt your business and where you want to head to in this post-COVID situation. So here, Chum, with this results, and I'd like you, if you could, give us some examples where there's specifically any customers that you have encountered that particularly was having had a real issue of a cybersecurity attack. Of course, I don't think we can name the name of the company here. It's a sensitive topic, but could you describe to us, was there a cybersecurity attack issue, and how was that resolved?
Yeah. So thanks, Doreen. So we all know that ransomware is a very clear and persistent threat to customers' data today, right? Every other day we will hear about a ransomware attack on the customer, and these customers can even be very big corporations, right? Like the recent attack on Garmin, right? The one that sells the watches, the smart watches. So Garmin actually had to pay, the cyber criminals, right, to actually get its data back so that it could bring back its application services. So the thing about ransomware attacks, right, it's not just having the capability to recover the lost data, but also to know which recovery point to choose, right? So I actually had a customer, so probably also about 3 years back, you know, he actually owned a small shipping company, so a very small setup there. So he has a HPE nimble storage, where, you know, on one day, right, he called me, you know, on the weekend to say that, hey, you know, their infrastructure was behaving weirdly, you know, their mails are not working, things are starting to break down, you know. So we went in, we took a look at InfoSight, and we could tell, you know, in a matter of minutes that the infrastructure was okay, everything was running fine, the health checks were okay, you know. Then we started to drill a bit further down, and that's where we go to his servers and then log in and look at the operating system. And then we found a lot of weird files with a lot of weird extension. So that is actually when we realized that, hey, you know, the ransomware has already attacked his server environment. So luckily for the customer, right, he was protected with our storage snapshots, could easily recover his data to a previous point in time, right? But the question was, which snapshot do we use, right? Do we use something that was created 4 hours ago, 8 hours ago, or even 1 day back, right? So the key is actually to minimize the data loss. So choosing a snapshot just before the ransomware hit is actually the ideal case.
Doreen, sorry, you're mute.
Yeah, mute.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, so I'm glad that the issue was resolved for the customer. Indeed, it was a very serious one that would have impacted their reputation big time. So that's insightful. So how could we do resolve that completely using InfoSight? You know?
Yeah, so going back to the same case, I mean, InfoSight will actually log performance statistics. Like we collect a lot of telemetry data of the HPE infrastructure out there. In fact, worldwide across all our install base, and these statistics are actually kept for 1 year. So when we look at the historical statistics for that particular customer, we look at his storage, because when ransomware hits, right, well, what will happen in your environment is that suddenly your storage will see a lot of read and write IO to the storage where you keep your data, right? Because the ransomware is reading and then encrypting, then causing a lot of new data to be created. So from all these historical stats, right, we clearly see a big jump in the read and write on a Friday 8 p.m. So he called me during about Saturday in the afternoon. So we look back and then we saw, hey, you know, Friday 8 p.m. there was a huge spike. And then how do we actually know that this is the ransomware? We could actually compare it with previous weeks, right? The last 1 week ago, the Friday, 2 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago. So when we look at it overall, right, we could see that the Friday jump was not really something that was normal in his environment. It wasn't due to some reports that was being generated. No, so we were quite certain, right, that it was actually the point where the ransomware started to encrypt all his data. Now, if you didn't had InfoSight, right, and you actually have to go to every respective appliance that you have, look into the dashboard, and most of the time, right, this platform will not keep a lot of data on-prem. They will probably maybe just keep 1 week or 2 weeks worth of statistics. That's about it. You can't really cross-correlate back 1 month ago or even further than that to really compare the statistics. So with InfoSight, it actually became very easy, right, for us to detect, you know, when is the snapshot or point in time that we should recover from. So the customer clean up his environment, we restore back from the snapshot. All in all, it took us about maybe 2 to 3 hours, and then he was back up. So it was actually very, very fast. And I also like to say is that it's not just once. I actually saw quite a fair bit of customers that got hit with ransomware. So this threat is actually very real, even in Singapore's context.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's the restoration recovery was really fast. Yeah. So I guess the disruption to the customer's business was mitigated or kept minimal. So I think, you know, that's a fantastic sharing. I'm happy to hear of the outcome and how you have helped, you know, customers with our HPE technology. So thanks, Cham. I think this was a very insightful session, sharing a lot of real life examples with us from a HPE, you know, helping customers perspective. So next, I would like to bring on board into the panel with me, Macmillan. Mac, are you there? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Doreen.
Hi, Mac. Thanks for taking time to join us here at the HPE session with SCCI.
My pleasure.
Thanks for your time. Yeah. Okay, Mac, can you give us a quick introduction of yourself and your company?
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Macmillan. I'm from Trillium Technologies. We are a technology and solution provider who have been working with HPE, SimpliviTy, and Nimble Solutions for more than 5 years. One of the reasons we choose to work with HPE as our key technology partner is because we feel that HPE has a very strong portfolio of products that can address a lot of the customers' business and technology needs.
Thanks a lot, Mac. And it's been a pleasure to work with you. I'm glad you're here supporting us and supporting our customers with their technology challenges. So can you share more about your experience with your customers? What were the challenges that they faced? What sort of outcomes they wanted to achieve? And why was SimpliviTy the HCI solution of choice for your customers?
We do have this customer that we were working with last year. They are an offshore bank that has a branch office in Singapore. So back then they were comparing between going for an on-prem solution versus going to public cloud. So they were looking for a solution that was basically able to offer them the same ease of use, scalability, and manageability of cloud, but with the privacy and the security of on-prem solution. So some of the challenges that were facing back then were that they have a very small data center in their office in Singapore. So their server footprint was getting bigger and bigger. Previously, they had about 20 physical servers in their data center. And when they moved to SimpliviTy solution, right, they basically cut down to 3 servers on primary side and 2 servers for the DR environment. So for them, it's a substantial savings in terms of power consumption and space. And the other consideration was the fact that before SimpliviTy, they had to work with multiple vendors in terms of servers, for example, they have to work with vendor A. Their storage, they have to work with vendor B. Then they have to have another backup software, another replication software to the DR server. So the IT staff have to work with like 10 different tools on a day-to-day basis. SimpliviTy, on the other hand, is built such that anyone can easily manage the server, from your day-to-day functions and operations. The tools is fully integrated to VMware. So to the user, it's just a single management console. To configure like a backup and a restore, right? You just need 3 clicks. That's it. It doesn't get any simpler than that. The other challenge that they were facing was that we are living in an era where everything needs to be fast. Everything is lightning fast. The user require a new VM for a new application, and they need it yesterday. So IT people are always very stressed by the users. Well, luckily with SimpliviTy, everything is faster. You want to do a provisioning of a new VM. You want to, spin up a new workload. You want to duplicate existing workload to, do it for development, for testing purposes. Seconds, everything's in seconds. Even backup and restore is super fast. Previously, the customer backup window is about 6 hours, and they can only do it daily at night. They have to wait for their operation to finish, then they can start doing backup. But with SimpliviTy, their critical server now is backing up every 2 hours. The non-critical servers is being backed up every 4 hours. And in fact, as you mentioned before, HP is probably the only company that guarantees a full backup of up to 1 TB VM in 60 seconds or less. So in conclusion, the customer knows that with SimpliviTy, right, they can achieve better productivity and achieve the ROI from the investment that they spent.
That's amazing. I like the fact that you talk about everything fast, lightning speed, and how customers need things not today, but yesterday. So the requirements are always, fast and furious, especially in our SMB commercial space. We move really fast, and the world belongs to the fast. So I'm glad you were able to help many of our customers to do things really quick and get their workload up and running swiftly. So let me give you a tough one, right? So we know about all these fast backup restore, which is simply fantastic. What about security, especially to your example? You talk about offshore bank, right? I'm sure banking customers, financial institutions, but in particular, security is one of their topmost concerns because they have a lot of confidential customer data points, right? So can you tell us how you're able to address these concerns for these customers?
Okay, first of all, SimpliVity is not a security solution. So to the customer, they still need to get the necessary, firewall, IPS, the endpoint protection, and so on and so on. But the uniqueness of how SimpliVity combines the technology of deduplication and with their backup, right, allowing the customer to do a full backup in as often as 30 minutes to 1 hour intervals. And all this can be achieved without any performance impact at all to their systems. So in the event like, Charm and you have shared, right, there's any ransomware attack, any data corruption, any data loss due to, planned or unplanned, whether it's intentional or unintentional, right, combined with INFOSIGHT, combined with the ability to pinpoint and recover to an earlier backup point, right, this can help the customer to save their data, to minimize the data loss in the event that there's a data loss. So there was a case that it wasn't an offshore bank, it was another customer that obviously I cannot share. The IT guy went to the office in the morning and found out that they had a ransomware attack in one of their servers. So they already have that screen where everything is being locked up and the users can access the server already. So they call us up around 9:15 a.m. and they asked us to help them to log in a call to HPE to assist them to be on standby. So we proceed to tell the customer, don't panic, don't worry. You have everything in place. Look at your backup. And lucky for them, right? Because this was a critical server. They did the backup every 2 hours. So they were able to revert back to I believe it was either 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. backup. And we did not receive a call back until like 9:45. And by then, everything is back to normal, according to the customer. There's no data loss, they don't have to pay any ransomware. And then it took them like less than an hour to resolve this issue. So basically, SimpliVity helped this customer to avert a major crisis.
Wow. Thankfully, that was a good news to share. It was a big issue, I'm sure, for the customers. And I think none of us here, in the audience, we really want to be the next one to fall victim, to cybersecurity, especially now in a COVID situation where we are a lot more vulnerable. So for SMB customers with limited budget, I think that was in our poll, also another top priority for our SME customers is really on cost, because right now we are looking at new areas of growth. We're probably looking at how we can start small, and then as the months goes by, when our demand, our business growth starts to happen and accelerate, my IT needs to allow me to start small and then scale easily whenever I need to. So can you share, in the context of your experience with some of these SMB customers, how was SimpliVity able to address their needs, starting small to helping them scale whenever they want to? Definitely.
In fact, that is one of the key selling points for SimpliVity, especially when you compare to the other hyperconverged solution out in the market. SimpliVity allows you to start as small as 2 servers and scale from there. And this is able to achieve without any performance or redundancy compromise. We were working with this Japanese manufacturing customer who have a branch office in Singapore. They started out with 2 single server on their primary site that is able to support their whole IT workload. And for their secondary DR site, they just need 1 single server, because on the production side, they already have 2 servers to HA each other. So this customer was able to achieve, right, full HA redundancy on the primary side and full replication to their secondary site with one of the smallest footprint, 3 servers. And as you know, most SMB customer, right, have very lean IT team. The same IT person who is deploying new workloads is also managing day-to-day operations and probably helping some user to troubleshoot printer issues. So with INFOSIGHT, right, it's like they're getting a virtual AI assistant to help monitor, track, and analyze their systems. For example, like informing them of potentially running out of this space in 3 months' time. And this is only achievable if they have INFOSIGHT in their environment. So with INFOSIGHT, combined with how SimpliVity is so simple to manage, the IT person can spend their time on more important things, like helping a customer troubleshoot printer issues.
Okay, so that's a good story there, you know, and it's a real story. So that's really helpful to give our audience here a better picture of how SimpliVity with INFOSIGHT can really help them. So what about from an industry vertical perspective? You know, some customers, you know, do have very specific industrial vertical needs that is specific to the industry that they're in. So can you share how SimpliVity solution can be integrated into their environment and help them achieve some required outcomes?
Okay, we do have a ready-made solution that can help manufacturing and industrial customers digitalize and automate their processes in order to adopt the Industry 4.0 standards. And one of the reasons we decide to partner with HPE for this choice of platform to deploy our solution to the customer is that a lot of this customer in this space, right, have multiple sites. So there's a lot of communication ongoing between different systems, like from their ERP systems to their manufacturing, to the production line, to the logistic, to the warehouse, right? So a lot of data transfer is going on between the factory floor to the sales office, to the warehouse, to the retail shop, and so on. So SimpliVity with the dedupe technology, right? Our client is able to move data efficiently across these different sites without having to go for higher bandwidth, internet bandwidth, and in return, you know, they have savings and they're getting better efficiency through all the data transfer.
That's okay. That's just from a customer perspective. Now, I'll be interested to hear from your SI perspective. So, Meg, we've been working together for a while now. Yes. So, you know, from your system integrator point of view, you do have many options. I know you are very experienced in the market. You have your company has extensive skill set in helping many customers today to transform and be more intelligent and fast. So, why did you choose to focus your resources, your expertise, you know, on helping customers to grow with SimpliVity?
Well, we have been doing SimpliVity for quite some time now. And to be honest, we have pretty good success in selling this product. But honestly, we cannot take a full credit for it because the product itself is really that good. A lot of times when we go to customer, we show them the demo, whether it's Charm or our pre-sales doing the demo to customer, right? They are really wow by the product. So I really urge the audience, right? If you have these needs to go for HYPERCONVERGED, to go into this kind of solution, right? Take some time, you know, arrange with us to do some demo. Because when we were evaluating different HYPERCONVERGED solution, right? For us, our resources is very limited. You know, our engineers can only work on so many products and so many, you know, solutions. For other platforms, we find out that we have to learn a lot of tools. We have to work with different tools and software. But with SimpliVity, it's really easy and fast to deploy. Again, this is becoming a very recurring theme with SimpliVity. You know, single deployment tool. You know, easy to do installation, to do update and do configuration of the software and the firmware. You just need one tool to do it. So projects get finished faster. Customer is happy. We get paid faster. We are also happy. So the platform itself, is also very easy to manage. So if it's easy for the customer have less issues, they have less problems. So we can focus our resources on doing new projects instead of troubleshooting issues. And the best part is that after sales support, it's a single point of contact from HPE. So any issues from hardware to software, right? Each customer can get a single support from HPE. There was an incident with one customer who had a planned downtime, power shutdown from the building maintenance. So even situation like that, right? We were able to call HPE for a standby. Eventually, the customer didn't really use the service from HPE because everything was fine and the machine was able to go back up, no problem at all. But customer was very happy from the support that they're getting, the fact that HPE is on standby. So with this, there's no brainer for us. This is the product that can get a very high customer satisfaction. And a lot of times, the customer can start small, and we'll see that more and more, they start to put other workloads, and they grow from there because they're happy with the products.
Thanks a lot, Meg. This is really insightful, and thank you so much for your honesty here and your kind words. That you are here to share with us. Your good experience with handling the product, how it's benefited customers from these solutions. Thank you so much for your time and your partnership with us. And I'm sure together we're going to help more customers to grow their business and improve their efficiency. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks, Chris, for having us on this fireside chat. Back to you.
Thank you, Doreen, and our guest panelists for the insightful conversation. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Greg Chong. Greg is the Regional Partner Manager at HPE Financial Services. He will share more about how HPE EFS can help businesses overcome budget issues for their ICT investment during this pandemic. Over to you, Greg.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg from HPE Financial Services. I believe that maybe most of you do not know that HPE has a little bank inside the company. So HPE Financial Services works just like a bank, but unlike banks that can finance you for everything that you want to buy, HPE Financial Services only will provide you investment strategies and also financing programs for your IT investment. So we only do IT. So it is pretty important to know the various way of investing in IT instead of just the normal 30 days or 60 days that you have been paying for your IT products. Probably because technology now has been getting more and more important, and in fact, more and more companies are heavily dependent on technology. So I take myself, for example, I can still work pretty efficiently without going to the office, but if you ask me to work without my laptop, without accessing to the systems, I am totally clueless. Okay, so because of COVID-19 as well, there are many COVID-19 triggered projects. I would like to say that, like for example, we have SMEs that used to never really care too much about digital transformation. They have started investing. So for example, a very clear example, when everyone started to work from home, companies that staff are still using desktop computers, they have started investing on laptops. And then companies have started selling online, accepting e-payment, doing e-signature. So more and more, all these were triggered by COVID-19, right? And also digital transformation itself, of course, is something important because companies now are dependent on it. So we were saying this, right? Achieving IT innovation is still a challenge, even though survival depends on it. We did a survey with the IT decision makers. Okay, so there were some results that I'd like to share with you. 98% believe that organizations need to spend more on IT spending, and 83% acknowledges that IT spending, the amount you spend on IT, has a direct link with how competitive the company is. Right. So what it means simply is that the more you can potentially invest in IT innovation, the more competitive that your company will potentially be. But however, these CIOs means are the head of IT of the companies, are commenting that the biggest roadblock to them is actually they are overspending on keeping the lights on. What does keeping the lights on mean? Simply, it means they are just simply protecting or spending on the existing environment, the existing system, instead of spending it on innovation. Okay, and one more statistics that came out is that 71% of them said that they are worried on how they can get budget for their innovation, which is pretty in line with the poll that Doreen did just now, where budget is the first and the most top challenge in IT. So very coincidentally as well. So and all these things, when customers are looking into investing in IT, when IT managers are running out of budget, what do? They will of course look for you business owners or the finance managers for budget, right? But however, you all have your own set of challenges. For example, most companies have experienced revenue loss. Revenue loss means money loss, cash loss, and cash tightness in a company is usually the root cause of a lot of problems. So when during the pandemic, right? So what are some typical actions that you would have taken? You correct me if I'm wrong. So some actions that business owners and CFOs are taken is, of course, started drawing down the credit line from banks, leveraging on government packages, and as well as we will try to ask your suppliers whether you can have a bit longer payment term from them. Right? At the same time, you will also be asking your customers if they can pay you a little faster. Okay, well, of course, what we all don't want to see is salary cut, layoffs, which we don't want to see, but we are starting to see that as well. So all these actions simply imply that there will be no additional budgets for the IT department to spend. So the biggest question is really what happens when IT budgets can't keep up? But at the same time, your organization will still need to invest in IT. So very timely, at the peak of the lockdown period in April, HPE Financial Services globally have launched our HPEFS 2020 relief program, where we announced that we are offering $2 billion in new programs and new financing offering to help customers and partners weather COVID-19. So that is the program that I'll be sharing with you today. So stay tuned for those that want to know more, and for those that are expecting this session to be talking about technology. No, I'm not touching anything about technology, nothing about products. I'm really talking about how you can pay for IT differently. But before I get into the program, I'd like to emphasize one point. HPE Financial Services belong to HPE, but we are also a multi-vendor and multi-brand IT financing company. We are doing more than HPE simply because you as the customer, you do not only buy one product, right? You will buy some HPE products, you will buy some firewalls from another company, you will buy PC, laptops, printers from another company as well, right? So we want to position ourselves to you as your financing partner for anything IT that you want to buy. So while you will hear about the solutions I'll be sharing later, do also think about your whole IT asset that you have in your company and not just for any particular brand. So I give you an example. You can come to me for a 100% SAP software deal, right? I can also help you to finance the software that you're buying. So we are that flexible. Okay, let me get into HPEFS 2020 Relief Program, which is a series of solutions to address an uncertain business climate. So we have put all these solutions into 4 categories. You will see defer and reduce expense, generate cash from excess, match payment to use, and relieve capacity. But today, due to time limitation, I will only be sharing the first 2 boxes, number 1 and number 2 with you, which is usually the most popular ones. Okay, now let's get into the first category, which is defer and reduce. The most straightforward one that we have is actually called 90-day payment deferral, which means you buy something today, your supplier like Trillium might have delivered everything to you today, but you will only pay 90 days later, right? So one thing to note about HPEFS solution is that we do not do short-term financing. So if you're looking for only like a 30-day term or 120 days terms, this is something that we don't do. We do long-term financing, which is more than 12 months. So we do it through an installment. If you want that installment to only start 90 days later, which is what this chart is saying, that is something that we can do. So 90-day payment deferral simply means you start the installment of the solution or the payment 90 days later. But what is more interesting is which is something new, is our 2020 payment relief, right? So this solution helps you to defer over 90% of the project cost until 2021. How does it work? So you look at the picture on the right side. What you need to do is that you will only need to pay 1% of the project cost for every month for the first 8 months, and then you pay the balance through an installment plan in the next few years, right? So you can come to us for 36 months, 48 months, or 60 months. Regardless of the months, the first 8 months, we will only require you to pay 1% of the project cost. I give you an illustration. Assuming HPE or Trillium or any of the partner has propose a project to you that costs 100,000, and you come to HPEFS asking for a 36 months program on 2020 payment relief. And for easy calculation, let me just calculate it based on 0% interest, right? So for the first 8 months, you only need to pay 1% of the project cost, which is $1,000. And the balance, you can pay it through a 28-month installment program, right, which is around $3,300 per month for the balance 28 months. So we designed this structure really to help your company still invest on the essential IT solutions, but at the same time help your company preserve the very precious cash during this pandemic. Okay, so because we all know that there are some projects that even though you will want to delay, but there are some essential ones that you really can't. But how do you still invest in it at the same time to not spend the cash upfront? Right. So this is 2020 payment relief that helps you to defer the project cost over 90% of it until 2021. Actually, when we launched this in April, it was only valid until July. So what happened is that because of popular requests from customers, we have extended this until December. So if you want to sign up for this, you will have to sign by December. If not next year, I do not know if we are still going to continue this. Okay. But however, if let's say you feel that next year you may require a different type of payment structure that will be more in line with your requirement, do let us know, right? So now we are starting to plan for our 2021. So if we hear ideas from you on what you would need, we can probably incorporate it into our 2021 offering. Okay, so I've shared you the first two solutions from the first box, right? That is 90-day payment deferral, and now there is a 2020 payment relief program. The second box was talking about how you can generate cash from your assets, right? So should finance managers not be able to give any more additional budget to the IT department? What can IT department do? How can they generate additional budgets for themselves? Right? So this is the one that I'll be sharing with you. This solution is called sale and leaseback, or we also call it accelerated migration. So this solution targets products that you have already bought and already paid, but you still want to use these products. So for example, right, so your suppliers have already delivered the product to you, you have already paid your supplier, and now you are asking if you can monetize these assets, right? So what you can do is you can come to HPEFS and tell us that you want to convert these assets to cash, but at the same time, you still want to use these assets. So this program is also called refinancing in a more layman term. So you come to us to refinance these assets that you have already bought. So we do data center assets, which are server, storage, firewall, switches, all those. And we also do mobility devices. That means we also do PC laptops, or you're buying iPads, tablets, tablets, you're buying iPhones, smartphones, we also do refinancing on these products. So what do we do? I have a team that are experts in evaluating all these assets. We will then evaluate what are the assets that you want to do refinancing with us. And then we will tell you, okay, for this asset, we are willing to pay you $100,000, right? And then if you're agreeable with the price, I transfer the $100,000 to you. You then pay me back through an installment plan program. Okay, so that is really that easy. So there are some popular, frequently asked questions regarding this solution. For example, how much does HPEFS really pay for these assets, right? So if the assets are less than 2 months old, we will pay you based on the amount that you paid to your supplier. So if you paid $50,000, I will refinance it at $50,000. But if you are if these assets are much older, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years old, then we will need to evaluate how much the assets are still cost, and then we will negotiate a rate with you. Okay, and we do this for HPE and non-HPE products. It can be any hardware products that you are buying. So of course, I can't do software because I need it to be hardware to do refinancing, sorry. Okay, second FAQ. Does the customer need to deliver these products to HPEFS office, and after all the negotiation is done or paperwork is signed, then HPEFS will deliver it back to the customer office? The answer is no. If you look at point number 3 up there, it says no interruption to asset usage. So what we actually do with you is just the paperwork. We do not need to touch the assets that you are currently using. Okay, so do look at us, do look into your whole IT infrastructure or your whole estate of your IT assets, and do look into what are the things that you can potentially create additional budget or additional cash for your company. Okay, so accelerated migration targets target products that you still want to use. How about products that you don't want to use anymore? So I believe many of you may have assets such as some old laptops, old PCs, old machines that are sitting in your warehouse, sitting in your office, doing nothing other than wasting your space. You can actually sell these products to us. So HPEFS, we are a financing company. We are also an IT asset management company. We will buy back all equipment and all assets from you and help you to dispose them in an environmental friendly way. Right? So you don't have to worry that after you sell to us, then we will handle it not appropriately. You don't have to worry about that. We follow a lot of guidelines and we are very strict with that. Right? So if you really look into your assets and look into your office, and if you have any assets that you don't want to use anymore, do give us a call, and I'll provide my contacts later, and we will then tell you how much we are willing to pay to buy back this equipment from you. Okay, so those are the 2 solutions: accelerated migration and technology buyback, that will help your company generate cash from your IT assets. Okay, I will not go into anything deeper. I actually have the orange box, which is very interesting financing solutions. For example, it allows you to actually get all the equipment first and ready in your office. But as long as you do not switch on those machines, you do not have to pay. Right, so we have solutions like that, and we also have solutions where we call flex down, right? So for example, you bought 100 PCs, and next year you decide to probably downsize the employees by 10, right? You remove 10 staff. Then what do you do with the PCs, right? So in a normal program, you will still need to pay for these PCs, but in a flex down program, you can just return the PCs to me and you stop paying for those PCs. So I have other solutions, not limited to just the first 2 boxes. If you are keen to know, do contact me or contact my colleague Violet. We are happy to serve you and also to explain to you further what are the other ways that you can get yourself involved in the different strategies for IT investment. Okay, so we work just like a bank. For any company, before we sign anything with you, we do the usual credit check that banks do. So you need to submit your names to us, and preferably with your audited financial reports. We will then evaluate, but my credit team will then evaluate and then advise us on what is the amount that we are able to do with you. Okay, so I will end here. Does anyone have any question? You can key into the chat box. Is there any question there that I need to answer?
Hi, Craig. Thank you for the insightful sharing. I'm sure the SMEs actually know who to look for if they actually need help with their IT financing. So I think at this juncture, it'll be good if we can actually invite back Doreen as well as Charm for the Q&A segment. Yep. Hey guys, thanks for the insightful sharing. I've actually learned so much from today's session basically for myself. So I think one of the key things that I can hear, right, from the whole conversation is how traditionally when we view HPE, right, HPE seems to be more coming from a hardware angle. Then with this INFOSIGHT, right, it seems to be able to mitigate what a lot of the IT teams is actually facing, because a lot of times we have to buy hardware first, then we're going to buy other monitoring tools and everything to actually monitor things. So can I safely say from the whole conversation, HPE is actually building and selling hardware, but it's actually leveraging on this INFOSIGHT to actually so-called provide this as a free add-on to actually really help IT to actually manage the whole infrastructure?
Yes, that's right, Chris. So it's all about not just being hardware confined. I think we have moved a lot beyond that to being software driven. So you're using software tools to help you to spin up resources when you need, spin down when you don't. So and move your resources accordingly within that confined hardware. So we're gone to stage of software defined. But that being said, we think our clients right here needs a lot more better equipment, faster equipment, more efficient equipment, and therefore we're gone past that stage as well to look into the next evolution of making it AI driven. So that means it's more intuitive. So it's a cloud-based AI engine that we put on top of our hardware to help enable that outcome for the customers. So definitely a lot of innovations beyond hardware confined, and we have come a long way in that evolution to meet the needs of customers today and for tomorrow.
Okay. So actually, one question for Cham, right? I think one of the key issues for a lot of companies is, I think even for SMEs, right? If I'm actually building an IT team, I think there's always been the question saying that, should I increase my IT manpower strength? Correct. I think that is something that's actually always on the IT, means in the SME, right? Say, hey, I need more hands and legs and stuff. But sometimes, a lot of times, when I get the manpower, but I'm still not able to get an overview of my whole IT.
Yes.
Is there such a thing? And yeah, correct. Just to share your experience. Yeah.
So I've already spoken to quite a fair bit of smaller customers, so SMB space. So one key thing that I see very common across all these environments is typically the IT team is not big. Most of the time you have one guy, and that one guy will manage the network, you manage the laptops, you manage the data center infrastructure, the server
and the
room.
printers, right?
Yeah, so it's like one guy, the go-to guy lah. There's one IT guy that's the go-to guy that will basically manage everything lah.
Yep.
So from the polls, I think that is also very clear lah, that a lot of times customers do not want infrastructure that is difficult to manage, where they have different separate places to go and manage. You have a backup piece, you have a network piece, you have a virtualization layer, and your guy will need to be experts in many areas, which is typically hard to find. Yep. So that's where I think from a HCI portfolio perspective, where SimpliviTY comes in, and Nimble DHCI, where it's actually very simple. It's an all-in-one appliance where the backup is also integrated. You don't buy a separate backup solution. Everything is configured within the VMware virtualization stack. So if your administrators are, they are very confident in their VMware skills, there really isn't anything extra for them to pick up. So that's why customers, when it comes to SimpliviTY, right, it's just set up and use and forget it. You don't really need to really learn very in-depth details of how it works. It just works. Yeah.
Okay. But judging from the traditional IT investment, right? I think just to borrow from my experience, do you find that a lot of people are trying to invest in hardware, right? But then they actually neglect the software portion to monitor the infrastructure resources. Then in the other end, right, when after they get it in, they say, hey, I cannot manage, I cannot, like when machines store the logs, it's almost impossible to go in and dig. So I think that's where there's this challenge always. So that's why they always thought, hey, I should actually hire more IT people to come in to actually manage. Do you actually see this kind of situation?
Well, most of the time they won't have the budget to hire more guys.
True.
Unlikely you see a customer that will spend a lot on headcount to manage the IT infrastructure.
True.
So
it's usually one IT manager, right?
Yeah, so it's usually one guy, and then sometimes that guy could even not be IT trained. It could be like a HR or what. That this guy, unfortunately, you are the one sitting nearest to the server room, right? So you're gonna take care of everything that's inside that room. So it comes to that, then there's the other part where INFOSIGHT comes in, right? Where it makes it easier, because when IT is not just you buy, you run it, right? There will be times where you need to grow the infrastructure. So when do you need to expand, right? What should you buy to expand? So all these questions, right, typically for smaller environments, right, the customer have no idea, right? They will just continue to use, and then when they find out they need to add in some more hardware, it might be too late, because typically, you might need to wait for the hardware and all this. So that's where INFOSIGHT come in to do all these predictive analytics to tell you, hey, you're going to run out of storage based on your current trending, right? You're going to run out of storage in maybe 6 months' time. So you can plan ahead. And then it's just to log into the GUI and you can see all this. You don't have to like every day, go to the GUI, the graphic user interface, take note down how much you're using, put it in an Excel sheet, and then do all this very tedious tasks. So everything is automated. Basically, I think at the very highest level, INFOSIGHT is just trying to make things as easy as possible for the customers. Yeah.
And it's a free add-on, right?
Yes, you don't pay anything. You just need to send your telemetry data out, and then that's it.
Okay. So moving on to Greg, right? I just sorry, I'm just jumping in here because I think after listening so much, I just have some questions that I need to just get out. So I think for Greg's side, right, I'm just interested to know, I think given this COVID-19 situation, right, it's actually pretty tough for a lot of SMEs to come up with the investment. It means the funds to do the investment. So I think, Greg, for your side, are you able to share when it comes to, because I think since you shared that the program was launched in April, right? What sort of investments are SMEs coming to you for financing? Are you able to share a bit? Yeah.
It's pretty a lot. I mean, there is nothing in particular, but mostly they come to us. For example, there was during the lockdown period, a lot of companies started suddenly invested in a lot of laptops. So laptops financing was quite a big hit, which is always the case. And then there were companies that were investing on certain software, and software licenses are usually pretty expensive as well. So they also came to us for installment plans. So of course, HPE, we did a lot of servers, storage, the usual thing. So I don't have anything in particular. But just that request for financing has certainly spiked because of the pandemic.
I see. So I think on this note, right, the government has also been financing, I think, because of the work from home arrangements, right? So I think given the government stance, as we hear from Monday, I think work from home arrangements will likely continue to stand. So I think there may be actually further potential for people to increase the number of hardware laptop purchases. So on this note, right, is there any minimum figures that for your site to consider for financing, right? For such laptop purchases, is there any minimum sum that they would need to hit before
our minimum sum is around $5,000.
Okay.
So we actually do pretty small ones as well, because we know that there are certain SMBs who will not need to have heavy investments. Of course, you can't compare with those large organizations that easily invest thousands of PCs, right? So we also do small. So our minimum is 5,000. But of course, do bear in mind that we, every financing requirement, we will need to go through credit check. So just like banks, there will be some approval, some rejections.
Can you share a bit more about this? I think since everybody is here, so will you be able to share a bit about the eligibility criteria so that they can probably just do a quick assessment first by themselves before they start knocking on your door or dropping you an email? Yeah.
I won't be too specific, but
just a general one. Yeah.
Few of the criteria that is mandatory is that it has to be at least 2-3 years old. Why is it that? It's because we evaluate the company based on their past 2 years audited report. So for you to have 2 years audited report, you need to be 3 years old. So that will be it. But of course, we look into other things. There is no formula that, no, if you lose money, then we reject. If your revenue drop, then we reject. No, it's not that. So there are other things that we look into.
I see. Okay, no problem. I think that's about all the questions. Personally, for myself, after listening to the whole webinar, these are the questions I have. I shall hand over the time now to Doreen. Yeah, correct. Probably to continue with Cham and Greg.
Thanks, Chris. For all the questions. Very interested to really hear what has been your views as you walk through this presentation session with us. So yeah, thanks for that. Okay, do we bring up the slides?
Doreen, are we going for the pop quiz, or we continue with your slides?
Whichever way, it's fine. I think since we can't get the slides up, maybe Chris, we go forward with the quiz.
Sure. Okay, so now we have actually come to the segment. I think it's glad that HPE actually recommend us to actually work together to do this pop quiz, because I think as we move online, everybody is doing video conferencing, right? I think engagement is one piece that we are always trying to get through to the audience. So for the rest of the audience, if you're actually conducting your own webinars, this is something that you can actually introduce within your own webinars as well to just get some engagement with your own audience. So right now, just enjoy the experience. We're going to have HPE sharing the pop quiz. So here's are the rules and regulations. Yep. So Joey will be the facilitator for this pop quiz on Kahoot. So basically, I think for people who are, we actually encourage you to scan the QR code just to join the this pop quiz. So all you need to do is to actually scan the QR code via this on screen right now, and you'll be prompted to enter the game pin that's actually flashed on the screen. So there's this pin, the pin over here is 73585. To actually identify yourself, right, to be eligible for the quiz prize, we will actually need you to provide your email address as well as a first name dot followed by the company for your nickname, so that we can actually identify you. Yeah. So probably you can take about 1 minute just to actually get yourself ready. Yep.
All right, thank you everyone. We can see everyone coming in. We have 7 players so far. So do remind yourself to put your first name as well as your company name so we can identify you later when you win the prizes. All right, we have 8 players in. So just a reminder to everyone, put in your first name as well as your company name and join in the session.
Yep, let's give everyone another 20 seconds for those who are actually interested to join in. Just experience what this whole webinar experience is like, so that enjoy the engagement. Yeah.
All right, we have 7 players so far. Do come and join us for this game. As mentioned, we will be giving out $20 Grab food voucher for those who have won the quiz.
Yep. So in the interest of time, probably we can actually kickstart the quiz. Yep. Just to let everybody have a feel of the whole engagement, because Kahoot is actually one of the most vibrant platform, right? That's actually used across a lot of webinars currently to actually get engagement from the audience. So basically, for those who are already inside, probably we can actually kickstart the contest. Oh, we have one more. So probably we can have the last 10 seconds just for yourself. If you're keen to actually get more and experience what the whole experience is like, we welcome you to actually join in. Okay, 5 more seconds and we'll start.
All right, great. We have 10 players in.
Okay.
Let's
Shall we kickstart? Yep.
Yep. All right, question number 1. How is HPE HCI portfolio uniquely different from other HCI solution in the market? So you can choose software defined, collapsing silo solution, AI driven, or none.
Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, we have 2 more participants.
All right, great. Yes, the answer is AI driven. Let's see who is on top. Sharon from A Star. Moving on to the next question. What is the secret sauce to HPE AI-driven HCI technology to help customers achieve an autonomous data center? ProLiant Sensors, HPE INFOSIGHT, HPE Nimble, or HPE Analytics? Click on the correct answer. All right, great. The answer is HPE INFOSIGHT. Oh, wow.
I like the leaderboard, Joey, actually.
Yeah, Andy is now leading on the game. Which is not a benefit of HPE HCI solution? Remember, it's not a benefit. 999.99 reliability, 192% ROI payback in 1 year, 10-to-1 device reduction, or 69% TCO reduction. All right, only 2%
Wow.
answered it correctly. Oh wow, look at that. FC is on fire. All right, next question. What is the HPE SimpliviTy Hyper Guarantee? Hyper efficient, hyper protected, hyper simple, or all of the above?
Oh, we have 10 answers this round.
All right, great. Everyone got it correct. It's all of the above. Look at that. FC is still leading the game. Moving on, which are the benefits of HPE INFOSIGHT? Integrated wellness and planning, root cause performance issues, repurpose underutilized hosts, or all of the above? All right, well done. All of us got it correct, which is all of the above. Okay, FC is still on the lead, followed by Andy and Richie.
FC is going strong.
Which HPE financial solution helps customers create cash and additional budget from their IT assets? Extended deployment, accelerated migration, FMV lease to return, bring your own device. All right, the answer is accelerated migration, and 3 of you got it correct.
I think I would have got the question wrong. Sorry.
Okay, moving on. HPE Financial Services is unable to finance which of the following items? All right, the answer is smart cars. All right, FC is still leading, followed by MD and Richie. 8. Which of the following structures was newly introduced by HPEFS in response to COVID-19? All right, well done. 2020 Payment Relief Program, and 5 of you got it correct.
Wow, FC got all the questions correct so far.
Yeah, followed by Richie and CK from INCO. The 9th question, what is the minimum deal size for HPEFS 2020 Payment Relief Program? All right, the answer is $5,000. Okay, and the final question. True or false? HPEFS support multi-vendor and multi-brand financing. The answer is false. The answer is... All right. This is the podium. Congratulations to MD on 3rd place, Richie on 2nd place, and 1st place would be FC.
Amazing.
Job well done. For the runner-up, we'll have Andy and Nigel.
Thank you, audience, for taking part in the pop quiz. So we hope that you have actually experienced another way to actually seek engagement, especially during webinars with the audience. Basically, I think it's actually I think HPE has also shown that it's actually important to to do a sound check sometimes to actually have such tools to actually engage audience to see how much they have actually picked up from webinars itself. So I think, thank you very much. I think we still have some slides from Doreen. So probably I would like to hand over the time to Doreen now to actually probably do the roundup. Yeah, Doreen, over to you.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks to the audience, for your spontaneous participation. It's really heartened to see all the responses, and thanks for taking time to listening to us and to participate. So here's the last part from me. We can move to the next slide. Okay, this is a reminder of our HP SimpliVity promotion. You heard a lot about our technology, how it is AI driven, so to help support many organizations in being efficient, fast, simple to use, and together with a hyper guarantees for you. And these are our promotions. You can see here we have translated the payment in terms of the latest financing programs that Greg has just shared. You have the 2020 payment relief scheme, and I don't think we'll need to elaborate on those, but in a nutshell, letting you have an understanding of what the payment terms will be like for each of the programs under 2020 90-day deferral scheme, as well as our standard FMB lease, right? These are the two bundles that we have specifically tuned for SMB customers. And I would say that it's a lot of details that we have shared. Definitely would like to hear from you. If you have any questions, any feedback, please take time, to scan the QR code and help us with your response so that we can also get in touch with you and share more details about the promotions as well as the financing programs. So I'll pause for a minute, for our audience here to capture the QR code so that you don't miss it. We'd love to hear from you. and to interact with you to help you really understand more of your needs, and also for us understand your priorities, your challenges, and where and how our technology can help you to go faster in the market, achieve the outcomes that you desire. All right. I hope everyone's captured that. We'll move on to the final slide. You know, seeing is believing, right? So you heard a lot of our success cases, you know, how the different use cases, how our solutions have helped a lot of customers particularly during the COVID-19 situation. So what about looking at some demonstrations, right? Effectively how it works. So these are the two free links that are available, which will be shared with you through the EDM document that will be circulated to the members here. So feel free to access these links, which basically give you a overview of how SimpliVity together with our INFOSIGHT work, exactly how it runs, have an experience of how this effectively and can work for you. So explore more with us. And not forgetting, moving on to the next slide. That's it. So reach out to us. We can give you a demo so that you can really feel and see for yourself the power of our AI-driven technology. So with that, thank you so much for all your time. And thanks, Chris, as well as my panelists who are still here on the call. Thanks very much. And Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Doreen and team, especially Charm, Craig, as well as the guest speaker, Macmillan, for joining us at SMEICC Live. So I believe everyone have actually understand what being AI-driven is all about, especially in terms of managing IT. It really cuts out a lot of work. And also, Doreen has shared some tips for the digitalization journey. Personally, for myself, I think with help from Greg's side regarding the financial schemes, budget shouldn't be an issue to stop digitalization. Although you do need to actually consider quite strongly the areas whereby you need to actually digitalize. So if there's any way, right, I think HPFS may be an option they can consider as another alternative to help you with your IT investment. So to those who are keen to sign up for the SUPSI membership, please do take note of this special offer that we have till the 21st of September 2020. So with that, we have now come to the end of this session. On behalf of Chambers, we'd like to thank Doreen and team again for joining us to actually craft out this particular webinar to actually educate our members basically. So please let us also have your survey and feedback on the SMEICC Live through the feedback survey form here. You may also scan the QR code on the screen or follow the redirect link after you have closed this session. So we have actually got more exciting tracks and top-notch speakers lined up for you over the next 2 days. So please do continue to join us for the upcoming track tomorrow. You may also scan the QR code to view the full program. So with that, thank you all and see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.